I was worried about the 2024 Asus ROG Zephyrus G14. Change is scary, and this is one of my favorite gaming laptops of all time. I've had my hands on every release since 2019 in one way or another, and loved every second I could spend with these miniature powerhouses. A complete redesign, the sacrifice of RTX 4080 and RTX 4090 options, a whole new screen type. These are all announcements that had me anxiously clutching my pearls during CES. After 2 weeks with the latest Asus ROG Zephyrus G14 in hand though, and those updates have won me over. Mini LED who? This is where the G14 truly earns its spot among the best gaming laptops on the market. The biggest change to the Asus ROG Zephyrus G14 comes in its physical design. This is a much slimmer model, dropping the chunkier base plate required for heavier RTX 4080 and RTX 4090 graphics cards and adopting a more mainstream ultralight profile. It's by no means as skinny as some of the more high-profile non-gaming options out there. A creative market Asus is looking to tap with this new release, but it still feels impossible as a gaming device. Other gaming laptops have been taking aim at this infinitely more portable form factor in recent years, but the current roster can't beat the G14's 1.5 kilograms. The Razer Blade 14 clocks in at 1.8 kilograms, and last year's G14 packs a 1.7 kilograms footprint. Even the Alienware X14 R2 comes in at 1.9 kilograms. It's obvious, though, that Asus is taking the Zephyrus G14 beyond its gaming roots. The dotted LED matrix display of yours has been replaced by a super slick diagonal stripe running along the back of the lid. This is a glossy glass by itself, but can be illuminated with 28 mini LEDs for added flair. That more restrained aesthetic, combined with the unibody's CNC milled aluminum chassis, gives the G14 a strong MacBook feel. I was initially confusing the G14 with my own MacBook Pro when simply carrying the device around. Due to the soft touch light silver finish and flat square design, even the rounded corners feel like a Tim Cook touch. That luxury feel extends to the build quality as well. Try as I might, I was unable to flex the main baseplate, and while there's a little flexibility to the lid, it's one of the sturdier screens I've tested. The whole clamshell is comfortably opened with one hand, with a smooth hinge design to keep hot air away from the display itself. That does mean sacrificing the drop hinge I loved on the previous model, in favor of a more unified design with no rise to the keyboard either. Asus has also changed the G14's feature set inside and out, swapping out the Nebula Mini LED display for a Samsung-designed OLED panel and scaling back its configuration options. Last year's Mini LED was certainly impressive, but it felt like a step backwards from the same text implementation in larger Asus gaming laptops. The OLED panel available here is a revelation. The incredible contrast and super fast response times are married perfectly with a bolstered 3K 2880 by 1800 resolution to produce an incredibly vivid picture overall. Everything jumps off the screen here. Forget the dappled sunlight and vivid green hues of Assassin's Creed, Odyssey, or the almost alien glow of Cyberpunk 2077. I was impressed just watching developer logos splashing across the screen on boot. The Nebula part of Asus's marketing relates to its HDR system, which is alright. Windows 11 isn't currently handling HDR content by itself particularly well, and with the lowered overall brightness of an OLED panel adding further fuel, it's not the panel's main selling point. Still, the fantastic contrast you are getting here is well worth the trade-off if you're both a gamer and creator. Under the hood, you'll find an AMD Ryzen 9 8945HS processor across all models, with either an RTX 4050, RTX 4060 or RTX 4070 GPU at the helm. That CPU is more of an iterative upgrade over the previous generation that doesn't push the newer release too much further than last year. However, if you're after the full power of the RTX 4080 and RTX 4090, it's worth noting that the 2023 Asus ROG Zephyrus G14 is still available in these higher configurations. As we'll see in the performance section though, those premium GPUs might not be worth the trade. The OLED screen on here is incredibly well implemented and could be reasoned by itself to stick with an RTX 4070 configuration. Those chasing the highest possible frame rates will have to stick to 2023's offerings, but the power on offer here is more than enough for everyday play, and after the last 2 weeks I can definitively say I would rather have the boosted screen. DLSS 3 is also your saving grace here. The keyboard feels super slick under the hand, with generously sized keycaps, for the main part. The arrow keys are halved, making them a little difficult to hit in more frantic gameplay situations. Still, there's a good amount of space around the left and right arrows, so I was able to find them without having to scan. Each key actuates with a soft but satisfying clack and a tactile feel while skimming over the top. They're also covered with a particularly pleasing smooth finish. You've got everything you need here as well, though there's no dedicated macro for switching between performance modes like you'll see on larger rigs. On top of all that, the 2024 Asus ROG Zephyrus G14 still doesn't compromise on its ports. Everything but Thunderbolt 4 is catered for here, due to the AMD build, with plenty of options on both sides of the rig for additional flexibility.